Hi, how are you, folks, and welcome back to another segment at Coffee and Connections with the Chief. I'm Chief Dean Rondeau of the Wolfeboro Police Department, and to my left is Captain Mark Livy, the Executive Officer for the Police Department. Also, the Executive Officer is just another way of saying the second in command. So he is the second in command of the PD. So, holy smokes, I can't believe, Captain, we're in the middle, the beginning of August, actually, I'm sorry. We're in the beginning of August, and we're in the middle, essentially, of the summer, right? I think you can effectively say that we're moving into the second half of the summer, and where has it gone? First thing I want to do is just let everybody know I really appreciate the cooperation we received from the public relative to the 4th of July. It was a very, very busy time for us. You know, it's an all-day event for the Wolfeboro PD. It's a good 18-hour day for most of the department, if not a little bit longer. We got the morning. It starts off with the morning parade, and followed by the fireworks display at night. You know, literally scores of thousands of people in town for both events. And just a couple of things about the 4th of July parade. So first of all, thank you everybody for cooperating. We did actually tow a few vehicles, right, that were in violation of the parking ban. And so listen, I just want to say a couple of things about that. Number one, when we say we're going to have a parking ban, we're going to have a parking ban. All right, it's not kind of maybe sort of. Yep, we're going to do it. Maybe kind of sort of. No, we're definitely going to do it. Right. When I say something, we're going to do it, and we're going to execute. And we did. All right, and I know that this is only the third or fourth year of us doing it, but the point is, look, get used to it, because we're going to have it from now on. There's not a major city in this country that you can go to that has a special event or a parade where street side or curbside parking is allowed along the parade route. It just doesn't happen for all sorts of public safety reasons, okay, which I'm not going to go into. So it should be obvious. So the parking ban will always be there. It will be for the entire parade route, and it goes into effect, and it's enforced. So that means that if you're parking in violation of the ban, one, you're going to be ticketed, and two, you're going to be towed, right? And that's all there is to it. Now listen, I say this every year, and you know, then it invariably it always happens that, you know, somebody wants to try to get downtown in the middle of the, you know, right before the 4th of July parade. Right, literally 10 minutes before we begin the parade, somebody is pulling up saying, well, I have to get to my parking space. Well, if you're pulling up at 9:40 to, you know, Forest Road or to North Main Street, and you want to try to get to your parking space downtown, even if we weren't blocking the road, you're not going to be able to do it. Because there's literally a sea of humanity between you and your parking space, all right? This is Wolfeboro on the 4th of July. This is one of the most heavily attended festivities that we have in the town of Wolfeboro throughout the summer. There are literally thousands of people in the downtown area, so you're not going to get there. So word to the wise, we've been doing this, that it hasn't changed in the last 30 years. We've been doing it this way at least since I've been here, and I've been here 26 years now, going on 27. All right, we shut the roads down at 9 a.m. unless it's a Sunday. Then it's usually like 12 o'clock, and the road is blocked because the parade participants are setting up, and there's a lot of heavy equipment and floats moving. It's a public safety concern. We don't want anybody crushed. We haven't had anybody smushed by a float or by a Sherman tank or by a half-track in at least the 30 years that I've been here, and we don't want one now. So that's the reason the road is shut down. So again, you're not going to get to Black's to get your favorite paper and Lydia's Cafe for a cup of coffee, because you've got probably 5,000 people between you and your favorite coffee shop. All right, so you have to make allowances. You have to plan to get to these venues and places a lot earlier than you normally would. This is not like any other day in the week. This is Wolfeboro on the 4th of July. And you know what? The same thing kind of goes for the Santa Parade that we do. Maybe not to the same numbers, but the fact the roads get shut down and there are hundreds of people in the roadway all looking for the for the Christmas tree to be lit and for Santa to arrive, and there's a parade and the road gets blocked. So you just need to be a little bit reasonable and manage your expectations a little bit better, right? So enough said about that. So August is shaping up to be a beautiful month. It's going to be beautiful weather. The lake is nice and warm. The storms have been reasonably mild this year. We're grateful for that. So just a couple of things here. Sometime around the 15th of August or so, depending on the sport, the high schoolers and the middle schoolers will start reporting to their mid-season athletic camps and band camps and so forth and so on. And this is when a lot of our young juvenile athletes start going to football camp and soccer camp and everything else. So those athletic fields will be in heavy use at Kingswood Regional High School and Kingswood Regional Middle School throughout the basically the middle of August on toward the early part of September. So remember, the kids will be starting to walk to school again, be by the side of the road. No, school doesn't officially begin until I think the first week sometime after the Labor Day weekend, which is coming up the first weekend in September. Am I right, Captain? It's the 5th, right. So that's coming up soon. So go ahead and check your calendar. I don't know the exact date. And then school will start shortly thereafter. So that's just a reminder. Again, you take all of those are obviously events that happen all the time, which means that you're going to have to start leaving for work a little bit earlier to avoid the traffic congestion and the kids going to school and the school buses and everything else. So that's coming up. But right now you still have a whole month of 31 days of absolutely beautiful weather. So a couple of things I just want to bring up. We're midsummer now. Our highway safety patrol grants are in full force and effect. You're seeing extra patrol units and extra police patrols on the roads. They're enforcing, these are federal grants, enforcing a lot of our New Hampshire and federal highway safety and traffic laws. And one of the things that the captain and I are seeing a lot of out there as we're out and about supervising our personnel is we're seeing huge numbers of uninspected motor vehicles, significant numbers of unregistered motor vehicles, and a fair amount of folks driving around on either suspended or expired driver's licenses. It seems that about 2 out of every 10 stops that I make end up dealing with a driver whose license is either A, suspended, or B, expired. And for you, if your license is suspended, right? You get notice of that. But it's your responsibility to keep an eye on your license and know when it's expired. And what is an expired license? We'll check on your license date, and it will give you, usually in five-year increments, on when it expires. And then you have to get it before it expires, which, by the way, is always on your birth date of that year. Whatever year that your license expires is going to expire on your birth date. So that means that the day following your license expiring, you're expired. You can't drive on that license. You got to go down and get a new one. Okay? Your registration always expires. It's annual. Your registration is always annual, and it expires on the last day of your birth month, right? The last day of your birth month annually. Okay? And inspections always expire the last day of your birth month. The state gives you a 10-day grace period to get your vehicle inspected. Doesn't mean that your vehicle isn't uninspected. It is. Uninspected, it is. But what they're doing is they're giving you a 10-day grace period, right? Your vehicle, so if your birth month is in June, your vehicle's going to be uninspected come 1 July. Right? You got 10 days to go get your vehicle inspected. All right? And on the 11th day of July, and you're driving on an inspection sticker that expired at the end of June, you're 11 days overdue. Not 1 day overdue. You're 11 days overdue. So just keep those things in the back of your mind. We're seeing far too many people driving around with uninspected motor vehicles, and I'm not talking 1 or 2 days overdue. I'm talking 3, 4, 5 months overdue. I stopped somebody yesterday, was over 7 months. I stopped a vehicle the other day, was 18 months out of registration. Okay, and what happens is you subject yourself to your vehicle being towed and a very expensive ticket. I think it's over $300 for for the fine on that. Okay, and then likewise with an expired license, that's a fine amount as well. So avoid yourself that embarrassing situation, and you could find yourself walking home, and you don't want that. That would be really unfortunate. So please pay attention to those things. Those are your responsibilities. And yes, they are serious matters, all right? They're state laws. We take them serious. And you know what? The state does too, okay? The state takes this stuff very seriously. So pay attention to that. So aside from that, I don't have anything else that I really want to discuss of any type of significance other than what I already mentioned. I'm now going to turn it over to the captain, and he's going to give you an update on operations. Captain?
Thanks, Chief. Yeah, I just a little bit more on that. I mean, I've been doing the grants that are out there, the highway safety grants that we still have to the September 15th, and it's amazing. I agree with him. The amazing how many vehicles are not inspected or registered. It truly is. I get it. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what's wrong with the vehicle based on a check engine light, but most people are just not doing it, just not getting around to it, or just not doing it, or forget about it. But just remind you on that, get your vehicle inspected and registered. What's going on with the PD? So we just hired Aiden Stedman. He's our new officer. He's going to be going to the academy on August 1st. So that will be a 16-week academy he'll be in. And then you'll have a 12-week FTO. So it won't be until, April, May, he'll be ready to go by himself to get ready for next summer. Really, that's what we're trying to do here.
It takes that long.
Yeah, to get him going.
Tell him where he's from.
So he's originally from here, Wolfeboro, but then he moved when he was 7 to Australia? Yeah, Australia.
Land down under.
So he moved back here just recently, and he's going to be going to the academy on August 1st.
So we're now recruiting from Australia.
Yeah. So we're pretty excited about that. Check out our Facebook page. It's all on there. Everything that's current, keep an eye on our Facebook page. Dispatch is going smooth. Everything's normal in there. Calls are up. The summer's been busy, especially with the officers too. Calls have been up. We're doing our best getting downtown, walking the beat. With the complaints that we do have on a daily basis in this general area, in the downtown area, which we get every year, we're trying to focus on that and the Bridgeville's Path. So you should see our officers out there on a daily basis walking the beat and getting on Bridgeville's Path. Other than that, I don't have too much more going on. It's summer, it's busy, and we're just trying to really get through it, but not too fast because I enjoy the weather, the hot weather.
Oh yeah, I do too. And I never thought I'd say that because I am Nordic, so I'm a Viking kind of guy. I love the cold weather. But this warm weather has been really nice, and it was a long cold winter. Hey, on top of that, I just want to mention that we have seen an incredible volume of traffic this year like I have never seen before. And it's been steady all summer long, all season long, and it's showing no signs of abating. And that's in spite of the very high gas prices that we're realizing right now. So again, to the residents and the citizens that routinely watch my show, thank you very much. That means that you probably want to leave a good 10 to 15 minutes earlier for your appointments or to run your errands because you know you're going to fight the traffic downtown. And that traffic downtown has been brutal. It has been brutal, and I know that. Next year, we're going to be a little bit better off at being able to patrol the downtown area. We will have had, by that point in time, we'll have Chris Dustin back from the police academy. He's scheduled to go on or about January 1st. Second of January, he reports down there right after the New Year. So we're excited about that. Many of you know Chris Dustin. He's been with us now for at least 5 years, 7 years? 8 years, yeah. He's been with us as a part-time officer. Very talented young man, very bright young man, very intelligent young man. And we're looking forward to having him as a full-time member of our police department. So long overdue. So, Chris, thank you very much for answering the call. That will bring us up to full strength. We'll be at 14 full-time police officers and 2 part-time police officers. Investigator Chris Warren has been helping out tremendously. He's just let me introduce Chris Warren, and in the coming months we'll get him on the show. But he's a retired chief of police from the town of Campton. Very talented police officer. Been in the business 39 years. Brings with him many skills to the Wolfeboro Police Department that we're very grateful to have. We have another adult and juvenile prosecutor. We have another technical crash reconstructionist on staff now. He is an investigator for us. He's taken a lot of these complex cases that cannot be worked by my detective because he's overstaffed or overburdened and understaffed. or the patrol division, and he's helping out. He's also doing policy compliance and internal affairs investigations, which are two very important functions within the Wolfeboro Police Department. So it's about time that we've had our own officer focused on those areas. So he's doing tremendous work. And of course we have Corporal Jason Boucher, retired member of the Wolfeboro Police Department, who's come back and is working as our juvenile services officer, doing a great job in there, and also managing the evidence room. And he's an evidence technician managing that evidence room. So what does that do? That means that it frees up my patrol officers who would normally have to do those tasks to spend more time out on the road and creating efficiencies. So at this point in time, I would say that we've pretty much maxed out everything that we can do in this regard to create efficiencies, and any additional relief to the patrol division is going to have to come in the form of new hires, either full or part-time. But right now, everything in the police department is going well. We are looking forward to putting the bond for the new police station on the warrant article. So please understand, moving forward for the town budget, please understand that that's not a standalone warrant article in the sense that we're going to raise, $4, $5, or $6 million like that in one setting. It's a bond. Think of that as like a big mortgage. It's a municipal bond. So the interest rates right now on municipal bonds are very, very good. A little bit less than what you would be able to get for a mortgage on your home. They're very attractive rates right now, and they probably will be for the foreseeable future. So we hope to bond this out and get this on the warrant article for the town vote. So please be paying attention to that. More information will be provided by James Pinio, our town manager, and or the Board of Selectmen, and or our very talented town finance officer, Catherine Carpenter. So again, pay attention to that. That will be coming forward. If we get that warrant article, that means we can start putting shovels in the ground, and as soon as April of next year. The selected site, approved site by the Board of Selectmen, is the town property where the fire substation is, basically across the street from 7-Eleven off of 109 East. We're very happy to be out there. It's the geographical center of town. So that makes sense for us to be there. Now remember, folks, my officers are not at the police station waiting for calls to come in. They're already pre-deployed in the neighborhoods in and around. So we can really put the police station anywhere. The headquarters can go anywhere. All right, my officers are pre-deployed, and we do that because we practice proactive community policing. My officers are in the communities. They're out and about. We have the town developed into a couple of different sectors and several different zones, and that's reflected in my IMC database tracking system, which is how I track calls for service and so forth and so on. In any event, the warrant article is good. I support it. There's been a lot of deep discussion about this. We have had a public safety building committee. We've been looking at this since 2017. The process actually began in late 2016. So this isn't anything that was just thought up overnight. We've actually been looking at this now for almost 5.5 years. So we're coming down to the final stages. This is a good process. The building design has been developed by LaValle and Bresinger architects. They've done a fantastic job on the design and the space study and the space needs for the Wolfeboro Police Department. This has been vetted by the town manager and the Board of Selectmen, the Police Commission, and more importantly, the Public Safety Building Committee. This is the first phase. The police department will move out, presumably, if it's passed the town vote, next March. The police department will move out to the 109 East location, and then we begin refurbishment and reconstruction on the fire station. So this is a twofer, right? And this is a good thing. This is a very, very good thing. So more to follow on that. Again, all the documents and materials are posted on the town website. Simply go to the town website and do a search for Public Safety Building Committee or Public Safety Building, and you'll see all the documents, the space studies, the plan, the design, the concepts, the proposed budgets, the whole thing. Everything is there from soup to nuts. So I'm telling you this because I want you to be informed. I want you to make good decisions. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can either call myself or Captain Mark Livy or reach out to the town manager. The last thing I just want to say is while you're enjoying the wonderful weather, and it's a beautiful, bright, sunny blue day, you can see behind me, I do want you to pay attention to the weather, right? These thunderstorms can pop up at any point in time. Lightning can strike even on sunny days. So I want you to be safe out there. I want you to be cognizant of the weather. And I want you to have a great but safe summer. So, folks, thank you very much for joining me on Coffee and Connections with the Chief. I'm Chief Dean Rondeau, and my Executive Officer, Second in Command, Mark Livy, wishing you a very happy August. We'll see you again on or about 1 September. And as always, people, be safe out there. Thank you very much, and thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody, and I am Chief Dean Rondeau. Welcome back to Coffee and Connections with the Chief. And I'm here with a newfound friend. This is Michael from Jamaica Plain. That's in Massachusetts, folks, if you didn't know. So I'm from Mass, as many of you know, from Cambridge. So a couple of Catholic schoolboys here chewing the fat on this beautiful day. And I'm going to turn it over now to Michael, because Michael does have a question for me. Mike?
Yeah, so Dean, what's it like being a police officer in Wolfeboro?
You know, that is a fantastic question, right? And here's the reason why it is. Because I think we've all seen the show Cops, right? And, you know, that's the word, bad boys, what you going to do, right? And I can't sing, don't ask me to sing. But when you're in the rural areas of the country, law enforcement is very different than it is in, say, Cambridge or Boston. I have a cousin, Mike, that's a police officer. He's now going on almost 40 years in Jacksonville, Florida. And that's a big organization. That's a big animal down there. There's about 5,000 cops, and it's a combined police and sheriff's department in the city of Jacksonville. And he's never written a parking ticket. He's never written a speeding ticket. All he does is answer calls for service. He's running a dog right now. He's a canine officer, but all he does is go from calls to call for service, call to service, take a report, hands it off to the detectives, and he goes on to the next call. He's never run radar. He's never patrolled a highway. So in New Hampshire, once you get out of the southern tier of the state, where 2/3 of the state's population is, and you get up into the North Country, where you are right now, Lakes region north, law enforcement up here is really different. So we have to be really experts in various specialty areas. So, for example, I'm a technical crash reconstructionist, and I am an interview and interrogation specialist. My department is reasonably small, and each one of my officers picks one or two functional areas in law enforcement, and they specialize in that. In addition, they're cross-trained in a wide breadth of areas. We carry a lot of different weaponry in the vehicle because we have to be prepared for any situation. We could be taking a stolen bike report 1 minute and then responding to a barricaded subject the next. So we carry a lot of equipment with us. during the wintertime, we carry extreme cold wear, gear, cold wear equipment, so we can be out in the environment. We may have to track an escaped prisoner, or look for a felony burglary suspect, which has been in the past, several times in the past, where we've been in the woods in 30 below temperature for 18 hours. So we have to carry all the gear, and that also includes very limited fire protection gear and other type of equipment that you wouldn't normally see in a patrol cruiser in Boston or Cambridge, and more importantly, we have to be skilled at using it. Additionally, all of my officers go to crime scene analysis school, so they can lift fingerprints, they can fume items if they need to be fumed, they can take prints and tire castings and so forth and so on. This is so we can preserve evidence, so we can have a resolution, a successful resolution, because folks, it's all about outcomes. In my police department, we measure outcomes, right? And I'm happy to say that my conviction rates in court are usually between 90 and 100%, because we do a very good job at report writing, and we do a very good job at collecting the evidence, preserving that evidence, and having that evidence admitted during court trials. So that's a little bit about what it's like. It's very different. One last thing, when I was at the FBI Academy training, one of my classmates was a trooper from Alaska. He was a lieutenant from the Alaskan State Police. And I asked him the same question, hey, what's it like being a trooper up there? And it's funny, because being an officer here now, going on almost 27 years in the North Country, I know what it's like in the North Country. And sometimes I might have to go out and wrestle the bear off the side of the road, literally, or shoo away the moose and the deer that get out and block the roadways. And he takes it one step further, because they're out sometimes for days out in the outback of Alaska doing their law enforcement, so they have to be survivalists as well. So, folks, interestingly enough, great question. Different parts of the country, and I suspect the same is true in countries like states like Montana or Wisconsin or Wyoming, wide open, big sky countries. You have some major population centers, but the vast majority of those states are still very rural. And folks, believe it or not, most of your law enforcement across this country is still very rural. What do I mean by that? Most of your law enforcement in this country are not in the big cities like you would think, right? San Francisco, New York. Most of your law enforcement, I think over 60% of your law enforcement comes from small agencies that are 5, 6, or 7 men spread across, or officers spread across the breadth of this great country. So you need to keep that in the back of your mind. This country is still very rural. So Mike, did I answer your question?
Yeah. I never had a conversation with a police officer before, so I don't really know too much to talk about. But I'm really happy with the words you've said today. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Michael. And that's great. That's the purpose of this program. Is right. We want to engage with the public. We want to talk to people that have never had an interaction with the police, and we want them to see kind of the other side and learn what it is that we do and how we do it, and some of the thought process that goes behind it. So, Michael, I wish you the very best of luck in your future high school career, and hopefully you're moving on to college.
Yeah. Actually, I want to go. I want to go to Harvard, and then I want to go to medical school. So, just as you guys serve the public, helping us out, preventing crime. I want to go, prevent people from dying. Hopefully, I want to be a surgeon. So, maybe our journeys might parallel each other in that way.
I think so, and that's a very that's a great statement. That's very altruistic of young Michael. This is exactly what we're very happy and very proud about, young men like Michael that want to go out there and serve their fellow man and their community. Michael, thank you very much for being on the show. Folks, tune in again next month in September when we do another segment of Coffee and Connections with the Chief. For now, I am Chief Dean Rondeau, and this is my new friend Michael, and we are signing off. Please, out there, be safe. Stay tuned for your safety tip of the month, folks. Thank you very much. Well, welcome back, everybody. And here's our final guest of the shows is Eric. Eric is from Florida, but he's a part-time resident, so he lives in Florida, and he also lives up here in Wolfeboro, and we're happy to have him. And Eric, I'm sure once you see him, you're gonna have recognized him because he's about twice my size. So I remember people. I always remember people bigger than me. So Eric, how are you?
Good. Thank you for having me, Chief. Actually, I live just outside of Wolfeboro, but my question would be this. In this day and age, a lot of people, they accuse officers of doing all kinds of bad things that a lot of times it's just a way to create interference, whatever. Sometimes there is overzealous officers, but the fact of the matter is to protect the officer as well as to protect the public. A lot of departments are now going to body cameras so that there is proof positive of what that person did, if they assaulted the officer or if the officer assaulted the public. What is the department doing in that light to get to that stage where we have body cameras to protect everybody?
So that's an excellent question posed by Eric, and it's actually quite fortuitous. And I'll tell you something right now. Since I've become the chief and my able-bodied captain has become my executive officer, we have certainly looked forward and embraced all of the recommendations which have come out of the criminal justice reform committees, both nationally at the national level as well as at the state level. So in this regard, I echo the Attorney General's sentiments as well as the Governor's sentiments and the Executive Council. So the Wolfeboro Police Department has been actively reviewing and researching body cams and cruiser cams. Right now we have neither, and we certainly want to go in that direction. And I know I just had a discussion with my county attorney on this informally just a few days ago. And when we were discussing this very topic, and we're both in agreement that we think it's the right way to go. And the question becomes, how do we fund that, right? Because folks, we're just not talking about cameras, right? These are not GoPro cameras that you're going to wear on your shirt pocket or your lapel, and be able to do that, right? They have to be. Specially functioning type cameras made for law enforcement, right? There's an evidentiary piece to this where the data has to be downloaded and collected and tagged and logged and so forth and so on. Also, we need to outfit our cruisers with front and rear cameras, so the vehicles that carry clearly passengers need to be outfitted so that we're capturing what is going on in that back portion of the vehicle, as well as what's going on in the front of the vehicle as well. So there's a huge expense here in terms of equipment. There's also going to be an expense, not just in terms of equipment, but personnel. And let me explain, all right, because people are going to say, well, what do you mean personnel? Well, if we're collecting voluminous amounts of data, which we will be, theoretically, some of that data, in my opinion anyway, and remember, this is new technology, right? Like anything else with new technology, there's going to be court battles about what is discoverable, what isn't, what is releasable to the public, what isn't, what can be released under a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act request, or what we call here in New Hampshire 91A request, right to know law. So I believe that those records would constitute public documents, right? How could it be anything else other than a public document? Clearly, that those laws are new. Clearly, this technology is new, and so the attorneys are going to have to figure out, what is releasable and what isn't. I suspect, like everything else, it'll be on a case-by-case basis. But regardless, that information has to be viewed by our prosecutorial team, right? Because you don't ever want a situation when you get into court where the officer's video and his report don't match, right? So that has to be watched by the prosecutor, who is an attorney in my department. That prosecutor is an attorney, because his law license would be on the line, right, if he were to do something other than that. Additionally, because he's now going to be having to watch, on average, 2.5, 3 hours of arrest footage per arrest, and we make a lot of arrests, or serious incidents or other types of video. There's an awful lot of time now being put on his plate, so we're going to have somebody like a paralegal come in and be able to relieve him of writing motions, getting discovery ready, getting reports ready, so he would be freed up to watch that video, right? Because there's only so many hours in a day. So we would need personnel. And then the other thing you need to do is you need to have a policy compliance officer, probably a supervisor, a sergeant at a minimum, gold badge, who is watching the video from a completely different perspective, right? And he's watching the video for policy compliance, which gets right back to your question. Because, as I said before, if I don't know there's a problem, I can't fix it, right? So a policy compliance officer would have the responsibility of pulling and periodically checking various videos to see, is the officer speeding? Is he not speeding? Is he doing everything correctly? Is he operating the equipment correctly? Is he following proper department policies and procedures, rules and regulations? Those things are very important. It would be, I think, a travesty on the part of the Wolfeboro PD if we were collecting this data and it was later found out over 10 years that Officer Rondo, just using myself as an example, wasn't following proper procedure on perhaps seatbelting or buckling up prisoners or reading Miranda warning advisements or something like that, and then only for a court case to come about or a case to be lost because of poor policy adherence or procedure adherence, or a traffic crash happened, and because the person wasn't properly seatbelted into the back of the cruiser, they become injured, right? Only to find out that officer's been doing that for 10 years and no supervisor ever picked up on it. That's why you need to check this, especially if we have the means. We're collecting this data. We have the means. The other thing I want to mention, we just brought on a retired chief of police who's now an investigator with the Wolfeboro Police Department. He's working in a part-time capacity. And one of his primary duties and responsibilities is just that, internal affairs and policy compliance. So when we get these complaints about an officer who is perhaps overzealous or maybe misuse of force, it can be properly investigated by an officer not in the union, right, because we do have a union, an officer not in the union who reports directly to the staff sergeant, the captain, and myself, who can objectively look at this officer we just brought on. Investigator Warren is a former chief of police with 39 years in the business, certainly knows investigations, is a tremendous asset to the Wolfeboro Police Department, and he's already taken a number of investigations for us to make sure that we don't have these types of issues. And then if we do, he brings them to my attention, and then we forward them up to the proper disciplinary agency, whether that's the police commission, the police academy, or the county attorney's office. Lastly, we have an attorney in the Wolfeboro Police Department, and he follows, of course, the prosecutorial rules, and he's obligated to look at reports and he looks at them not just from a policy compliance standpoint as well, but also from a legal standpoint. And if there's something that's unethical or immoral that occurred, he brings that to the attention of the administration, and then we deal with it most normally through an investigation, which would result in some sort of disciplinary action. Eric, back to you.
Well, the one question I have on that is, we know, whether it's in the courts or you said you had an independent investigator, by and large, the policeman is going to believe another officer before he's going to believe somebody in the general public. When you take something to court, if you have an officer's word and you have John Q. Citizen's word, normally, unless you got a really good lawyer, the officer's word is going to carry more weight. So that's why I believe, body cameras or whatever, it shouldn't be who's wearing the uniform and that carries more weight. It's evidence, period. That's what should rule in this. And it's not, a lot of times it's somebody's word. This is what they were doing. Okay. I'd like to see it get down to evidence.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, Eric, and you and I share the same opinion on that. And I think we've heard over the last 3 or 4 years, not just from the public, but also from the courts and the various reform committees on criminal justice, that they want to see body cams. So I think in short order, the Wolfeboro Police Department will be adopting body cams and cruiser cams. Certainly, that's the route we're going. Now the question becomes, how do we fund that? And that becomes my battle, right? Myself and the captain have to sit down with our various committees and say, listen, this is how much it's going to cost. It's going to be expensive. I mean, we're not, and when I say expensive, it's like, very expensive. And I'm not saying that as a reason to say we're not doing it. No. Please understand just the opposite. I want everybody to realize it's going to be expensive. And yeah, it's going to be a budgetary item. It's going to be in the Wolfeboro Police Department budget, but I think it's needed and necessary, and it's coming. And the question is, how does it arrive? Does it arrive as sticker shock? One day, there's a $230,000 line item in the budget, or does it arrive in phases? I think you'll see right now that the New Hampshire State Police are doing it in phases, which makes sense. And now I think it's up to us to adopt something similar.
There is federal grants that you can apply for that'll give that to you as well, or may give it to you.
Yeah, that's correct, and we have looked at that. Unfortunately, right now, under the federal grant, they only cover a max of $50,000, and it also includes a 50% matching fund. And so, for example, if we know that the price tag is going to be $200,000, the best we could get was $50,000. Now, every little penny helps, and I agree with you. This is the reason why we need to phase this in my opinion. And so it doesn't become sticker shock to the citizen, to the taxpayer. And we have a plan to move forward with, I think, which is needed and necessary technology. So I happen to agree with you, Eric, on this topic.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Eric. And that was a fantastic question. These are really common topics of the day, folks, right? And body cams and professional standards, CALEA. You've heard me say before, I want to go down that road. I want professional standards. I know I just talked to so folks, this is important. I just talked to the director of the police academy just a couple of days ago about body cams, about CALEA, right? When we say CALEA, that's the accreditation program a lot of agencies use to maintain professional standards. Once it's adopted and once a department is certified, it really makes it near bulletproof. And I know Lee County, where you're from, I know they follow CALEA standards down there. Lee County Sheriff's Department, by the way, is a huge organization, 2,000 or so deputies and officers, and that's a huge, when you get out west and down south, the Sheriff's Departments are these really, really big animals. But moreover, I just talked to the police academy director, John Skipper, and we were talking about, professional certification. What does that look like? And right now they've formed a committee at the state level that is addressing these issues right now and looking at these issues. And I know for a fact that we're going to be, the state of New Hampshire is going to have its own certification program. I don't know what that looks like. It'll be a professional standards program that'll be run out of the New Hampshire State Police Academy, and I'll tell you right now, once that happens, the Wolfeboro Police Department, we're moving toward professional certification. We're moving toward that objective, and along with that, it's going to include body cameras, without a doubt. So right now, I got to put the parts in place. This is not an overnight operation, folks. This is going to take some time to plan out and get right, but we're committed to it. And Eric, that was an excellent question. And these are contemporary topics of the day that are what I call hot button issues in society. If you're in law enforcement, you're in the administration, you're looking at these very carefully for a whole bunch of different reasons, but obviously budgeting expense is one of them. Thank you very much, Eric. Great question.
Thank you.
Great question. Folks, I think that's it for Coffee and Connections with the Chief. Now, please dial in next month for another segment. In the meantime, keep your eye on the weather. Be careful if you're out there boating. And as always, pay attention to that roadside construction. We have a lot of it going on this year. And be safe. Thank you very much, folks. Great day, great show. Eric, thank you once again. Welcome back, everybody, to Coffee and Connections with the Chief. I'm Chief Dean Rondeau of the Wolfeboro Police Department. Hey, we're in the month of August. I know it's hard to believe, but the summer's about halfway done. So August is going to be super hot. It always is up here in the Lakes region in the great state of New Hampshire. So when you're outside, when you're in the sun, you need to pay attention to your hydration levels. You need to hydrate. Water is great. Gatorade and some of those other sports energy drinks are good as well. Make sure you hydrate. You don't want to become a heat casualty, suffer either heat stroke or heat exhaustion. That would be really bad. Some of that, if it goes untreated long enough, could indeed be life-threatening. Lastly, and as always, I want you to pay attention to the weather, right? We know that these thunderstorms up here can come out of nowhere, even when they're not forecasted or unexpected. If you find yourself out on the lake and you have thunderclouds moving in, you probably need to end your activities and seek safe harbor, safe shelter, and you want to get off the water. You don't want to be the highest point on the water. I can't emphasize that enough. There was just recently in the month of July a lightning strike on some folks that were out in the general area that were struck by lightning. So this could be fatal, and lightning up here is no joke, no fooling. So please pay attention to the weather. Pay attention to your surroundings, maintain situational awareness, and also maintain your hydration levels. Thank you very much for tuning in to Coffee and Connections with the Chief. I will see you next month in the month of September. Until then, folks, be safe. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.